Welcome to a very special deep dive curated specifically for the Scaling Legends audience. If you're a construction business owner tuning in today, well, we're talking directly to you.
Yeah, strictly to you.
Right. And we're going to start with a bit of a reality check about the landscape you're operating in right this minute. Because if your company is pulling in under $30 million a year in revenue,
Which is a lot of you out there.
exactly.
Yeah.
If that's you, you are operating in a completely different economy than the big firms right now. I mean, it is a totally different world out there for the mega contractors.
Night and day.
Right. So today's mission is to unpack what economists are calling the K-shaped construction economy. Now, look, we're not going to sit here and sound the alarm bells just to stress you out. You're a business owner. You solve complex problems for a living.
That's the job.
That is the job. So we're going to look at this K-shape not just as a threat, but as an unfair game that we are going to teach you how to hack. We are pairing the tough realities of the market with a practical, actionable survival playbook.
I love that. Actionable is the key word there.
So let's get into the mechanics of this. What do we actually mean by a K-shaped economy in this industry? Because it sounds like financial jargon.
It does, but it's actually a really simple visual concept that perfectly illustrates the divergence happening on the ground right now. So just picture the letter K in your mind.
Okay.
The vertical line on the left is your starting point, let's call it a few years ago, when the market was relatively uniform, right? Everybody was sort of riding the same wave.
Right, the post-pandemic boom where everyone had work.
Exactly. But from that vertical line, the paths split. The top arm of the K points sharply upward, representing the tier 1 large-scale contractors who were experiencing incredible, almost unprecedented growth.
And the bottom arm?
The bottom arm of the K points downward. And unfortunately, that represents the smaller and mid-sized contractors who are seeing their opportunities shrink. We are witnessing a historic widening of the gap between these two groups.
And we aren't just speaking anecdotally here or, going off a gut feeling. We have specific metrics that paint a very sobering picture of this divide.
We do. According to Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, firms pulling in over $100 million are currently sitting on their highest backlog since 2021.
Wow, since 2021.
Yeah, they are completely flush with work. Meanwhile, firms doing under $30 million are facing their lowest backlog in over 4 years.
Highest backlog in years for the big guys, lowest in years for the smaller operations. That's a staggering contrast.
This is a stark polarization of opportunity.
It makes you wonder what is driving such a massive wedge between these two tiers. Where is all the capital flowing if it's not trickling down to the local and regional builders?
It comes down to a fundamental sector shift. It's about what is being built and who has the specialized capacity to build it. Let's look at data centers, for example.
Oh yeah, the AI boom.
Right. We all know the tech boom and artificial intelligence are driving overwhelming infrastructure needs. Right now, 37% of large firms are capturing data center work.
37%. Okay. What about the small firms?
A mere 6%.
6%. That's basically a rounding error.
It really is. The large firms have the immense resources, the highly specific technical expertise, and crucially, the bonding capacity to swallow those lucrative contracts whole.
Which leaves the smaller contractor out in the cold on literally one of the fastest growing sectors in the global economy.
Exactly. But this isn't just about data centers. There's a fundamental shift happening in the traditional sectors as well.
Right, let's talk about that.
So the industrial sector as a whole has doubled. We're talking about advanced manufacturing facilities, electric vehicle battery plants, vast logistics warehouses. That sector is absolutely booming.
But the flip side of that is residential.
Right, very much so. Residential construction, which has historically been the absolute bread and butter for so many smaller and mid-sized contractors, has contracted by more than 10%.
10% is huge when your margins are already tight.
It's brutal. The very foundation that a $15 or $20 million firm relies on to keep the lights on and the crews busy is shrinking. Meanwhile, the industrial projects that require immense scale are exploding.
Wait, but let me ask you this. Even if residential is down, isn't there still overall growth in construction? Because I feel like I'm always reading about infrastructure bills and new commercial development. Surely a rising tide lifts all boats eventually, right?
See, that is the illusion of the macro level data.
How so?
Because the overall growth forecast for the construction industry in 2026 is projected at just 1%.
1%, that's practically flat.
Exactly. So when you have 1% overall growth, but the industrial sector is doubling and the $100 million firms have record backlogs, the math doesn't lie. It means that 1% average is hiding a localized recession for the smaller firms.
They are quite literally fighting over a shrinking piece of the pie.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the human element on the ground. Because beyond the balance sheets and the thinning backlogs, there's a very physical, psychological toll this is taking on the industry.
A massive toll.
We're looking at a profound labor squeeze. The industry needs 349,000 new workers in 2026. And you know what the most shocking part of that number is?
Tell me.
More than half of those new workers are needed just to replace retirees.
Just to replace them. Wow.
Yeah, they aren't for growth. They are just to stop the bleeding.
And this raises a critical question about the sustainability of the current model for small business owners. Because think about it. You have a shrinking backlog. You are losing your most experienced veteran superintendents to retirement, and you're struggling to find anyone qualified to replace them.
The pressure on the owner is immense.
We are seeing severe burnout across the board. Just look at search engine behaviors right now. The query construction business for sale is currently appearing as a top Google trend.
That is a glaring red flag.
It is. It shows that many owners are working 80-hour weeks trying to plug holes, and they are hitting their absolute breaking point.
That Google search construction business for sale, that represents the ultimate dilemma for you, the listener, right now. If you're a business owner feeling that squeeze, you have to make a very tough choice.
A toughest choice.
How do you know when it is time to sell the business, pass the torch, and walk away, versus when it is time to dig your heels in, armor up, and fundamentally reposition your company for survival?
It's arguably the hardest question an owner can face. And selling might be the right move if you are truly at the end of your runway, the passion is gone, and you have a buyer lined up who values your assets.
Sure, absolutely.
But for those who still have the drive, who want to build a legacy and weather this storm, you cannot just keep doing what you've always done.
Yeah.
The market has permanently changed. Your strategy has to evolve with it. You have to reposition.
And that is exactly what we want to transition into right now. The strategic war room. The actionable survival playbook for the small contractor.
Let's get into it.
Strategy 1 is what we call the pivot. If residential is down 10% and the behemoth firms are gobbling up the data centers, where do you go? You have to pivot to profitability.
And the pivot requires looking at sectors that are actively funded, perhaps government-backed, and slightly less glamorous to the Tier 1 mega contractors.
What kind of sectors are we talking about?
We're talking about education. Public schools and universities are always upgrading, retrofitting for safety, and expanding. Community facilities are another great area. Also, complex renovation work, which often requires a nimble, highly localized approach that smaller firms actually excel at.
You need to find the pockets of the industry where being a $20 million firm is an asset, not a liability.
Precise.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Pivoting to education sounds great in theory, but public school bids are notoriously bureaucratic. If I am a residential or light commercial builder with a thinning backlog, do I really have the time or the administrative energy to navigate a brand new red tape heavy sector? That sounds like a lot of friction.
It is a lot of friction. But in a K-shaped economy, friction is your friend.
Friction is your friend. Explain that.
Friction keeps the lazy competitors out. Yes, learning the procurement process for a municipality takes time. It's annoying. But once you are in their system and you prove you can deliver, you establish a reliable pipeline of publicly funded work that doesn't just dry up the moment interest rates tick up.
That makes total sense. Agility is the superpower here. But let's say a listener does want a piece of those immense industrial or data center projects. They look at the skyline and they want in. They might not be able to land the primary contract, but they can change their positioning.
Right.
Which brings us to strategy 2, strategic subcontracting. If you can't be the general contractor on a mega project, you position yourself as a highly specialized, indispensable subcontractor to those larger firms.
Exactly. Let the $100 million firm carry the overwhelming overhead and the primary financial risk. You come in and execute your specialty, whether that's complex site prep, specialized concrete flat work, or electrical routing, and you execute it flawlessly.
And what about geographic limitations?
That's another crucial strategy tied to this geographic expansion. You don't have to be limited by your immediate zip code if the local market is drying up. Right now, there are 16 states showing substantial expansion in construction.
16 states?
Yeah, so if your current market is stagnant, it might be time to look across state lines, set up a satellite operation, and just follow the growth.
Okay, but let's address the elephant in the room. Whether you are pivoting to a $20 million public school renovation, subcontracting on a mega project, or expanding into one of those 16 growing states, you are going to run into a brick wall if you don't have the financial backing.
A bonding capacity.
Exactly. Taking on bigger or different types of jobs means you need the surety bonds to back them up. And if your backlog is thin and your balance sheet is taking a hit, securing a larger bond is a huge hurdle.
It's a significant hurdle, but there is a vital financial lifeline available that is criminally underutilized by smaller firms.
What is it?
Based on Smart Business Automator's market intelligence report, the SBA Surety Bond Guarantee Program currently has $10.6 million supporting 2,200 small businesses.
Okay, let's do a quick explain it like I'm 5 on that SBA program, because I think a lot of people hear a government program and assume it's just a loan they have to pay back. How does it actually help a smaller contractor win a bid?
Good point. So the SBA isn't a bank handing you a briefcase of cash for a project.
Right.
When you bid on a larger commercial or public job, the project owner requires a surety bond, which is basically an insurance policy that guarantees you will finish the work and pay your subcontractors.
Sure, standard stuff.
But if your balance sheet is a little light right now, private surety companies won't give you that bond because you look too risky to them.
So you're stuck.
Normally, yes. But what the SBA program does is step in and guarantee up to 90% of that bond to the surety company. Think of it like a wealthy uncle co-signing your lease.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right. They are essentially co-signing your capability. This makes the surety company willing to back you, which means you can suddenly bid on that lucrative community center or school project. If bonding capacity is holding you back from the pivot, this is a program you absolutely must investigate immediately.
That is an incredible tool. It's exactly the kind of leverage smaller contractors need to hack the system right now. All right, so we've talked about where to find the work and how to back it up financially, but let's talk about day-to-day survival.
The operations.
Yes, because when backlogs are thin, cash flow management is the absolute lifeblood of your company. You have to keep your fixed overhead incredibly low so you can bid aggressively and stay competitive. And we are seeing contractors get very creative about how they do this.
You literally cannot carry a bloated back office when the revenue isn't guaranteed. This pressure is driving a fundamental shift in how work gets done.
Give me an example.
Well, for example, there is currently a 51,350% search breakout for estimating outsourcing.
Wait, 51,000%?
Yes, that is a staggering spike. Contractors are realizing that instead of paying a full-time, high-salary estimator to sit in the office playing solitaire during a slow period, they can outsource that function entirely.
Turning a fixed cost into a variable cost.
Exactly. They only pay for estimating when they are actively bidding on projects.
That really tells the story of the pressure to stay lean. But here is the catch. Let's say the playbook works. You pivot to a new sector, you use the SBA bond program to secure the backing, you outsource estimating to bid aggressively, and suddenly you win 3 new jobs.
That's the dream.
It's a dream, but you cannot afford to suddenly be buried in administrative work. I was talking to a contractor last week who told me a total horror story.
What happened?
He said his daily reports were so delayed, by the time he actually read them, the drywall was already up over some major electrical mistakes.
Oh, man. That is painful.
That is the kind of margin killer you face when your team is stuck doing administrative busy work instead of actively managing the site.
And that is a perfect example of how administrative friction destroys profitability. This is where the operational model absolutely has to evolve.
How so?
If you win the work, your project managers and superintendents need to be in the field. They need to be driving the schedule, managing the subs, and ensuring quality control. They cannot be stuck behind a desk in the job trailer for 3 hours every day, organizing digital files, writing up meeting summaries, and hunting down RFI responses.
Which brings us to a category of survival that we absolutely have to discuss, leveraging artificial intelligence and automation to handle the heavy lifting of project administration.
The cheat code.
Exactly. If the K-shaped economy is the unfair game, AI is the cheat code that lets a $30 million firm operate with the efficiency of a $100 million firm. Let's talk about platforms like Smart Business Automator. It's built specifically to help construction companies scale their operations efficiently without constantly adding headcount.
Think of it as a highly competent, project-aware assistant that never sleeps.
I think everyone wants one of those. Where does it start?
Let's start with document intelligence and organization. Consider the sheer volume of paper and digital files a single project generates. You have site photos, structural plans, city permits, RFIs, submittals, and daily logs.
It's a mountain of data.
Historically, teams spend countless hours just digging through nested computer folders trying to find one specific detail. What Smart Business Automator does is automatically tag, sort, and extract details from all of these documents. You can use natural language search to find what you need instantly.
So instead of clicking through 10 different folders, you literally just type a question like, what is the specified paint grade for the second floor classrooms?
Yep, and the system pulls the exact spec from a 500-page PDF. It completely changes the speed of execution. But it goes beyond just finding things. It actively helps create the documentation through automated workflows.
Oh, this is the part I love. Tell them how this works.
This is where it becomes a game changer for project managers. The platform can generate draft RFI responses using the historical context of the project and existing records.
That saves so much time.
Right. It can take a long, rambling, voice-dictated field report or an hour-long meeting discussion and turn it into a crisp, clear summary with key takeaways, action items, and next steps.
Incredible.
It even generates automated internal updates and executive reports. It keeps the project managers out on the site doing what they do best, not writing recaps at 6 o'clock on a Friday evening.
And keeping the PMs in the field is exactly how you catch that electrical mistake before the drywall goes up. But I know what a lot of listeners might be thinking right now.
The tech adoption hurdle.
Exactly. The construction industry isn't exactly known for early tech adoption. Guys in the field often hate learning new software, and setting up complex systems sounds like a nightmare when you are already stretched so thin.
That is a very valid concern.
Yeah.
But the goal isn't to make a veteran superintendent an IT professional. The best technology works invisibly. And a critical part of making it invisible is how it integrates with what you already use.
Right.
This platform connects seamlessly with your back office systems like your ERP accounting software using simple API integrations.
Let's clarify that real quick for anyone who isn't a software developer. When we say ERP and API, what does that actually mean for the business owner?
Good question. Your ERP is essentially your main business management software, the program you use to track accounting, payroll, and core operations. An API is just a secure bridge that allows two different software programs to talk to each other.
So they share information automatically.
Exactly. So by utilizing simple API integrations, Smart Business Automator pulls and pushes data directly to your accounting software. It means your team isn't doing double data entry. You aren't typing an invoice into the project management tool and then typing it all over again into the accounting system. The data moves smoothly and automatically.
It is about creating a lean, intelligent, incredibly efficient machine. And when you have that machine running, you unlock the most powerful aspect of this technology, risk management.
Which is everything right now.
Because in a tight economy with shrinking margins, an unexpected bottleneck can wipe out the profit on a job entirely. You have to catch expensive problems before they happen.
And that requires analyzing data faster than a human possibly can. The platform utilizes schedule risk detection to identify possible delays before they cascade into major timeline issues.
Huge.
It provides budget and variance insights so leadership can see cost movement early rather than waiting for an end-of-month report. It performs change order impact analysis, evaluating exactly how a requested change will affect the overall timeline and the budget so you can negotiate strategically.
It takes the guesswork out of it.
Completely. It even handles compliance and spec checking, constantly reviewing project information against the requirements to catch gaps that could turn into major liabilities later.
When you look at the bigger picture here, the K-shaped economy is ruthlessly punishing inefficiency, but it is heavily rewarding agility. By utilizing these tools to handle the administrative overhead, a smaller contractor can operate with the sophistication of a massive firm, but retain the low overhead and flexibility that the big guys simply cannot match.
That is the core takeaway. The landscape we've mapped out today is undeniably challenging. If you were sitting around waiting for the residential market to suddenly bounce back to its peak or hoping the massive data center projects will naturally trickle down to your level, the outlook is grim. But you are not powerless in this situation.
Not at all. Let's synthesize the survival playbook for you. By aggressively pivoting into active funded sectors like education and community facilities, by subcontracting smartly on the mega projects, by leveraging government tools like the SBA surety bond guarantee to punch above your weight class financially, and by utilizing AI tools to keep your overhead lean while scaling your output, you can absolutely weather this storm. You can reposition your business not just to survive, but to actually take market share from the competitors who refuse to adapt.
Absolutely. And as you think about repositioning your company for this new reality, I want to leave you with one final critical thought to mull over. We talked earlier about the 349,000 workers needed in 2026, and how more than half of them are just replacing retirees. Think about what that really means for the foundation of your business. An unprecedented amount of institutional knowledge, the gut instincts, the problem-solving skills, the deep, nuanced understanding of how things actually get built is about to walk out the door forever. If your business relies entirely on the memory of your veteran superintendents rather than intelligent, searchable systems that capture that knowledge, are you truly prepared for the day they hand in their hard hats for the last time?
If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to Scaling Legends on your preferred podcast platform. Please leave a rating and review to help other contractors discover the show, and share this conversation with colleagues or your team who would benefit from the discussion. Finally, to see how you can scale your operations without drowning in paperwork, visit smartbusinessautomator.com.